call the meeting to order. And I do have a few comments to make, and I'll talk a little slowly, maybe, so give me a chance to get here. So today marks the 8th month of my term, and I am enthusiastic about the prospects for the final 4 or 5 months as president. I am convinced that Pecan Plantation is a fine place to live, and its governing documents, while not perfect, give us the framework that keeps us positioned as one of the best managed communities of its kind in Texas and indeed within the entire country. I'm not naive enough to believe that we are without our problems. But when they arise, our system allows for prompt attention and in most instances, corrective action. The problems that we face are generally not due to mismanagement or poor board oversight, but rather are the natural result of a growing population and the one weakness in our governance, a high threshold to reach over to increase our revenues to keep up with that growth. I attended the open house at the Fire EMS facility last night, and two things became clear. First, we have the finest such facility that is available to a community of our size. And second, without an increase in revenue, that system will be compromised. Fire EMS is asking for an additional $10 per member per month on a ballot that will soon be in our mailboxes. And it will require a supermajority. And it will require a supermajority of those voting in order to pass. The increase in expenses for all of our systems is inexorable. The cost of living index has risen 26% in the 8 years since the membership approved the initial $10 assessment for the Fire EMS program. This board will soon be tasked to determine whether there are projects in the system and in the operating funds to support them to present to the members for their approval. If these projects, if any, are recommended by the board, that election will be held in March. Again, a supermajority will be required for approval. The board is currently investigating a strategy to encourage members to approve such projects, but it is not clear that that strategy will be sufficient to achieve a positive vote. We shall see. It is clear to me that without a will on the part of the community to approve new revenue sources to both maintain those assets that we have and build new amenities to keep up with our growing community, that we will begin to fall behind. And the quality of life here in Pecan will change. So I hope that we are up to the task. So with that editorial, I'd like to move to our open session. I have only 2 cards here, and I'd like to recognize first Tony Patton and anyone else who wishes to speak on the topic of the feral hog problem. Tony, if you'd come up and speak in the mic. And you have 3 minutes.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tony Patton.
Tony, you have to speak right into the mic.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tony Patton. I live over on East Final Approach Court. I'm here on behalf of myself, my neighbors, and everybody else in Pecan that's been affected by this feral hog, shall we call it invasion for lack of a better term. We were recently attacked over the last 2 weeks. Multiple, I'm going to estimate at least between myself and our neighbors, at least $10,000 in damage has been done. I've talked to several members, Vance Blaylock that is on the Wildlife Committee. He's been very informative and very helpful about explaining, you know, the process of what these animals do and what they go through. You know, we can all yell and scream about the damage that's been done, and all that's not going to go anywhere. I've got 3 minutes. I'm going to be right to the point here. Here are the simple facts about the feral hogs. Okay, and I'm using the Ravenswood sounder, which is what we call a family of hogs, as an example. To the information I have received, I understand there are 50 hogs in this sounder. Okay, that's a lot of animals. Let's say 50% of them are females, which, is probably a conservative number. Okay, a female hog can have up to 30 piglets a year. Now, we take our let's have it at our 50%. We have 25 females. That is 750 piglets per year if they go undisturbed. Okay? This is one sounder. There's a good possibility there are 2 or 3 working this area. And it's just a matter of time before, we will get an intrusion, and it's not only going to affect myself, it's going to affect everybody in our community, especially when they're coming up this far from the river. They're obviously hungry, or the numbers are increasing, and, I think just everybody needs to be aware of this. This is a concern. Like I said, they do damage our properties well beyond what the deer do. I know Pecan is trying to be active in this. They're doing what they can. Can we get help with this? Is there something that Pecan has in the future that will, somehow help or deter these animals coming into our community? Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. And yes.
Yep. I have a question. What is a sounder?
A founder is the community. Yeah, founder. A founder is the community which the hogs live. They call it a founder.
It's their family.
It's their family, yes. Yeah.
So, Tony, I heard from Joe Hartman just before the meeting. Joe Hartman is a member of the board, for those that don't know him, and he is on military assignment and not here today. However, he is very concerned about this problem, told me that he is tracking down a professional hunting group that may be a way to solve this problem. We have a regulation that prohibits, as you know, shooting firearms within the community except across the river. But perhaps there's another strategy, and there are apparently professional hunters that can use dart guns, and that might be something that we can work on. In the meantime, I don't know if anyone from wildlife is here that can speak further to that.
We had the game warden at our last wildlife committee meeting, and as you might know, he said the only effective way is to shoot the hogs. Trapping, you'll never get the results just by trapping. We do have a pen trap set up by the campground. They're coming up through the campground, so we know where they're coming from. And as Dr. Kamen said, somehow we're going to have to find a way to eradicate them with firearms in all probability. But doing that's very problematic, as you might imagine.
Michael, like I say, I'm not the enemy. If I can help, I'm more than happy to help. And you're right. The only way to deal with this particular animal is by shooting them. And like I said, the numbers, are vast. 750 piglets from one sounder in 12 months is, I don't think the community kind of wants that problem. Plus they're dangerous to people and their pets, and this is a whole different ballgame.
Tony, I'm sorry, I started to interrupt you, but I talked with you a couple of days ago, and I think it's important to note, I've been hearing about the hog problem in Pecan, and I thought it was all along the river. I thought it was a Ravenswood Road issue or Bell Chase or something. Tony's house is 3/4 of a mile to a mile from the river. It's a long ways, so we have a problem within the community that's going to spread.
No, I agree, Dick. I certainly agree, and it's... I don't know what can be done. In my own personal experiences, the right thing to do is go to the people that deal with this. Like Bob mentioned, get the professionals in, at least let them assess the situation, and, I'm like everything, there's a monetary value attached to it, and, take it from there, I guess.
I think, one of the things I'm doing is I'm keeping a light on in my yard now at night, so apparently the hogs don't like light, they don't like noise, so I hope we don't be banging cymbals, but at least we can try using illumination as a way. I don't know if it'll work or not, but we're taking this seriously. Our wildlife committee is trying to figure it out, and as I say, Joe just called and said maybe he's got a strategy that might be helpful.
Okay, that's great, Bob. And look, thank you for your time, everybody. Appreciate it. And a special thanks to Vance and Daniel Van Pattern. Those guys have been instrumental in, giving information and at least, letting us know what is going on and that there is, in fact, something happening.
How many are here that are suffering from that? So we have several of you here. Okay, so board is taking this seriously. It's a community problem, and we are obligated to respond, and we'll do the best we can.
Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate your time.
Okay, I have one other part. Joel Nyman wants to speak about security problems.
My name is Joel Nyman. I live on Ravenswood Road, and they've given me 3 minutes, which actually is not adequate, but actually for the last month, you all remember the game called Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? Well, for a little over the last month, I've been playing a game called Where in Pecan are security patrols. I'm asking right now this board, okay, and if our security director is in this room, how many security patrols do we have on the road at any given point in time, especially the rush hours of 6:30 to 10:30 in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning, and from 4 o'clock or 4:30 till 7:30 in the evening? Can anybody answer that?
Todd, help us.
We have someone here 24 hours a day, every day of the year. Sometimes we have 2.
What is, sometimes we have 2. Now, I remember back in September of 2015 when I asked this board about the security problem and how many patrols we had, you said 2 and sometimes 3. Then it was discovered by me, in fact, that we had 1, maybe. And at that point, you were authorized, as you told me yourself, maybe not a whole, you were authorized an additional 40 hours a week to take care of the problem. Now, why, when I've been playing this little game, and your people know, okay? I've been playing this little game for about the last month and a half. There are 2 patrol cars sitting in that lot 90% of the time. We have 1 patrol, and that 1 patrol isn't even patrolling. He's running a meal service on Sunday between 5:20 and 6:45 in the afternoon to the gates from the clubhouse. No patrols. Monday on October 16th, 2 patrol cars sitting in the lot. One goes to the gate at 5 o'clock, comes back, sits for 10 minutes at your office, leaves there, goes to the front gate for 5 minutes, goes to the clubhouse for 10 minutes, and then goes, I can't figure out, goes out the back gate and sits at the marina for over 10 minutes. So I'm going like, now my curiosity is up. We're in the world over. In the meantime, this is now 5:30, 5:45 in the afternoon. We got no security patrols with hundreds and thousands of cars coming in and out of here. Hundreds of cars. You're laughing. It's not funny. All right. Well, you must be one of Ty's guards in the sense of the fact that, you know where I found this patrol? You know where I found the patrol car? You know where I found the patrol car? On task. I found that patrol car sitting on West Wedgefield up from the tunnel that comes from the marina, sucking on a lollipop, thinking he's running a radar trap. Is this where our security should be? Our 1 patrol is not within Pecan, if you all know where West Wedgefield is. This is the kind of security we're having, and these are not the only problems. Poor training at the gates, which...
Joe, you have to finish up, please.
All right, it's time that this board and the safety committee audited the procedures of the security department to find out, why don't we have security here? Where is the security and where are the patrols? Enough is enough.
Okay, thank you very much. To that end, I have received a recommendation in the form of a report from the Safety and Security Committee. It came too late for us to discuss it at the current board meeting. However, it will be on the agenda next month, and there is a recommendation that we will be considering from the Security Committee. There are no more cards. And so we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, and you have before you the minutes, and we've had a chance to review them. May I have a motion? So moved. We have a motion to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Minutes are approved. This is an important month for us. We are now going to spend some time on our budget, and so Mr. Kaiser, you would begin.
Sure. Okay, we have financial reports up through September of this year. This is a summary of just the month of September. Total revenues brought in $585,000 versus expenses of $524, leaving us a small surplus of $61,000. Year to date, it's $6.2 million versus expenses of $5.9 roughly, and we're $321,000 ahead, and that's a significant number because back in about February it was looking kind of grim, so it turned around very nicely. It's affected by a lot of different things, obviously, but here's a comparison of September versus the budget and the variance. So it's a comparison of how well we budgeted, and it's just 1 month. So let me jump forward to what it looks like for the year. And we're doing pretty well at budgeting. We're within over $500,000, $40,000 for revenue, cost of sales almost right on, gross $41,000 to the good, cost of labor $5,000 down, and other expenses $974. So when you compare it against the budget, I think it's pretty well managed. Here's year to date, $6.2 million in total revenues. We budgeted $6.14, so we're almost $70,000 ahead. Cost of sales $872 versus $834 for the plan, so we spent a shade more. We're still ahead by $31,000. How do we get rid of that? Anybody know? Okay.
John, where are you?
So remind me in 3 days.
Hit enter on the screen. Keep over. Hey, we feel the John's coming up.
All right. All right, thanks, John. Okay, so as I was saying, total revenues for the year is 6.2, cost of sales 872, gross is 5.3, and cost of labor 3.2 million, other expenses 1.7, total cost of operations 5.8. So down at the bottom line, we're 321,000 ahead year to date. And you can compare that with a budget of, we're expecting to be 134,000 ahead. So against the budget, we're 186 ahead of our budget. And then you can compare it for previous year, we're 245 ahead, and that gives us a difference of 75,000. Okay, this is a summary of how we've got our money in different accounts. Operating revenues of 6.2, we talked about cost of sales already of 872,000. Net income before depreciation, $321,000. So that puts us with an operating cash balance of just shy of $1 million. The Capital Reserve Fund began September with 1.8 million. We deposit, this looks like up through September, I'm sorry. It's for the whole year, fiscal year 2017, up through September. We began with 1.8, we've deposited a little over $1 million, we've expended 670, and we have an ending balance of $2.2 million. The Road and Drainage Fund began with 774, we've deposited 634, spent $250,000, and we have an ending cash balance of $1.163 million. And we still need to pay the bills on the front circle road and also the drainage issue near the back circle by Cherokee and Westover, yes. So those bills will be coming out of that last month. So for a cash balance, this rolls it up. We got almost $1 million in our operating fund, 2.2 in the capital reserve fund, and 1.1, which will be spent down to roughly $350,000 in the next couple months. Total funds in the bank, $4.3 million. This breaks down how we do assessments, and it's $141 a month for each member, and that's broken down to $90 goes into the general fund, $8 to the reserve fund, $19 to the road and drainage fund. And the little asterisk means that 9 of that 19 is scheduled to disappear in 2024. So unless some change happens, it will be more difficult to maintain our road and drainage after 2024. Trash pickup gets $14 per member, and EMS contribution is $10. You multiply that out by our 3,046 members, and you can see what it is for monthly and yearly. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Let's take a look at the departmental performances for September. I'm just going to go ahead and let you see all of them. Revenues on the left-hand side, budget, and then the variance on the right-hand side. So all the black numbers on the far right-hand side are positive variances, and the red numbers are negative variances. So security had a missed plan of $3,400. Mainly we just didn't have as much sticker revenue as we usually do, so we had a miss there. Golf had a good month, right on plan, $1,000 to the positive. Roads and grounds, it's really good to see. This month we had 11 new housing starts, so that has not happened in quite some time. And we had 27 transfer fees. So both new home starts and also resales are extremely strong this month. And you can see the effect over on the right-hand side, 20,000 positive for roads and grounds. Sports and Rec was basically right on plan, $4,900 in revenue, finished $1,400 better than their budget. Facilities maintenance in September, we're still lacking one staff member, so the labor is down in facilities maintenance. And because of that, and our expenses were down compared to budget too, so we had a positive variance of $6,800. I'm happy to say that we have filled the facilities maintenance positions, so that's going to be a big boost to our facilities maintenance in this clubhouse and elsewhere. Food and beverage, another great revenue month for food and beverage, $112,000. Budget was to lose $1,500 negative. That was actually the actual, on a plan to lose $5,400 for a positive variance of $3,871. Communications had a good ad revenue this month, just a small missed to plan over on the right of $614. VM had a 38.3% occupancy percentage this month. We've been tracking year-to-date about 31.3%, so that's good to see. So the inn, as a result of that, had a positive variance of $7,100. Marina cooking revenue continues to be strong, $25,000 in total revenue at the marina. Right on plan, $623 positive variance. Member services, also right on plan, $120 positive variance. In the stables, in September we were down one horse, but we still made plan by cutting expenses a little bit. Moving along year-to-date, performance. Security, you can see we have spent more on labor than we have budgeted, and so we have an $18,929 negative variance in security. Golf has been the benefit of good merchandise sales, nice weather, and green fees. So we have $520,000 in sales total for the golf department, $30,000 positive variance for golf. Roads and grounds made up this month. We're now positive. We were tracking negative. But year-to-date, after $162,000 revenues year-to-date, we are now positive in our Roads and Grounds Department, $9,185. Sports and Rec, we didn't have a full-time person working down at the PAC all year long, so our labor number in Sports and Rec is down compared to our budget. And because of that, we have a $19,453 positive variance year-to-date in sports and recreation. Facilities maintenance, because we were short-staffed pretty much all year long, it's not something that we like to spend all the money that we have in facilities maintenance, but we do have a $14,000 positive variance, or we spent $14,000 less than our budget. Communications, we've had some ad revenue depression this year, contrition a little bit, so we can see we have an $8,800 negative variance to our budget year-to-date. Things made a nice comeback, and so now we have a $4,635 positive variance year-to-date on the end. And the Marina, total revenues for the Marina this year so far, $273,000, and we're just about on plan. We have a small $1,300 miss to plan for the Marina. In stables, even though we weren't full all year, we do have a positive, that's actually a positive net for the stables, so it's a self-supporting amenity, and $1,164 positive variance to the budget. Taking a look at our total payroll for the month, we already talked about the revenues. Payroll was at $295, positive variance of $1,400. In previous year revenues, you can see our revenues were up $40,000 compared to prior year, same month. And we've spent $5,100 less, or actually more this year than we did last year. Let's take a look at our year-to-date payroll. Total revenues, as was mentioned earlier, was a very strong revenue, $6.2 million, $69,000 variance to plan, but more importantly, $133,000 ahead of prior year. Cost of labor, we spent $43,000 less than budgeted, and compared to prior year, we spent $31,000 more than this year. This is a look at the overhead cost. When we allocate all of our G&A costs out to each department, you can see the net effect there. And if you were to add up that number on the right-hand side, that would equal to $90.75. So this gives you a picture of what each amenity costs. The number in the top, 3,046, that is also a significant number. We started the year with 3,005 members, so we're plus 41 year-to-date. That is very, very good. And so as you can see, the cost, once you distribute the overhead costs out to each department, those will be the cost per member. And you can see that our golf, being our most expensive amenity, followed up by security, and then down the line, you can see the rest of the amenities. Member assessments, $276, and fees, we talked about $36,000 for a net of $61,277. This is year-to-date. If you add up all the months by $90.75, and you can see how much it costs each member for the amenities, and those are in descending order. So far this year, every member, theoretically, when you allocate all the indirect overhead costs, golf has cost each member $212, and you can see the rest of the numbers as they descend down, all the way down to the stables, $5.61 for the year per member. So member assessments collected, $3,016,000. Our fees, $350,000, as Mr. Treasurer said, positive variance of $321,043. Projected year-end, this is how we pretty much think that we'll end the year pretty much like we are now. Then that's the per member, so it's just one more month added on to that. A total operating forecast, how we think we're going to end the year. Assessment revenue, $5,600 to the positive. Operational revenues from all the departments, $60,000 more than the budget. Cost of sales, a little bit higher. That's mainly due to the food and beverage revenues. As our revenues go up, so do the cost of goods sold. Payroll and related, we spent $34,000 less than our budget, and again, that was mainly due to our short staffing situation throughout the year. In other expenses, we spent $69,000 less than our plan, for a variance, positive variance of $130,744. Capital expenditure report, that's quite a list of items that were completed this year. Still working on some, the telephone system and towers. We do have the wireless in place. Still waiting to charge up the telephone system. AT&T has been out during the last week, and so we're getting closer to converting over to our new telephone system. West Circle improvements, you can see along the way with the back circle. Pro Shop and 19th hole designs are in progress. Westover drainage, we have about another week and a half to finish that project. We were going to do asphalt a couple days ago, but it rained, so asphalt is scheduled for Tuesday. Front entrance road, the only item left to complete is a guardrail on the right-hand side that we'll add near the drainage that you see. And then the marina dock and fuel dispenser has not been started, $143,751. Then after I get a little drink of water, we're going to move right into the operating budget for the fiscal year ending October 31st. We're going to come back to the roll-up. Oops, got a little issue there, but anyway, let's roll through this, and then I'll come back to it if I can. I'm not sure if we can fix this. John, can you do anything to fix this? Or David? No? Okay, but let's just forge overall revenue increase of 2.9% for the year. Net increase of 25 members to 3,066. We expect the real estate activity to remain strong, building activity consistent with prior year, and cart and other fee increases, cart trail fee increases and other fee increases. And that's how we balance the budget, as you'll see later on. Labor increase of 5.8%, which includes a merit increase pool, the ACA insurance penalty, filling all vacant positions, and we're adding 3 positions. As you can see there, 1 grounds, 1 facilities maintenance, and 1 housekeeper. So we're and we had to work very, very hard. When we first wrote the budget, we were negative, about $150,000. We went back to the drawing board and cut some expenses, increased a couple fee areas, and we're able to balance the budget. So overall expenses are going up 5.7%. Our insurance is quite costly. That went up 5% this year. That's due to the wind and hail, nearly $1 million claim that we had. Obviously, the insurance company wants to get a little of that money back. Wildlife management of $75,000. Small increase expected in YMCA lifeguards for the summer. And of course, as was mentioned earlier, just normal cost increases as we go through each year if the cost goes up. And repairs to aging facilities and equipment. G&A, so here's our G&A account, 25 net new members, 236 transfer fees and 24 renter fees we're expecting. We moved our wildlife management to the grounds department. We felt that was a better place to put it, so that $75,000 is now in the grounds department. 5% increase in our insurance. And we moved the reception labor to the country club. That's what PPCC is, because most of the labor is done for the country club. So we made that change this year. And so then you can see the budget numbers there compared to prior year. Total operating revenues in G&A, $3.6 million, on a forecast this year of $3.657, so going up $40,000. And our expenses are going up $125,000 for the items that I just mentioned.
Michael, before you go, something I should know, but are both the Country Club and the Homeowners Association both nonprofit?
No, the Country Club is
It's for-profit?
For-profit, yes. We pay franchise tax. Yep. Golf operations, we are going to have a $5 trail fee increase starting November 1st, and we're putting all that money right back into the golf course budget. Revenues we have going up because of the cart trail increase, $41,000. And you can see down below the operating expenses going up as a result of that. So we're going to let Mr. Underwood have that money, that whole $5 increase spending on the golf course. And no changes to the staffing levels. Sports and recreation and stables, pretty much consistent with prior year, almost exactly the same. As I said earlier, we did not have our the guy that takes care of our 35 acres down there the whole year. Danny's doing a great job, so you can see the labor is going up 6.4% because we'll have him for the entire year now. And our expenses going up 5% due to just increases that we expect in the Sports and Rec department. So the spend for Sports and Rec next year will be $389,000 compared to $366,000 this year. Stables, we estimate about 90% capacity. Hopefully, by the end of the year, we'll be able to make up that $2,500, but that is just a small negative number, $2,500. So that's all the stables operation costs the members for the whole year. And no fee increases planned. Communications, we got a little overly aggressive on our ad budget last year, so we took that down a little bit this year to make it more realistic, down to $235,000. You can see the rest of the expenses there, just a minimal increase in advertising sales, and pretty much the same as our forecast, $85,000 spend for communications and IT department for next fiscal year. Security, we are having fee increases. That's one of the ways that we are able to raise revenue so we could add the positions. So contractor fees are going up to $85, and sticker fees are going up to $35 for new members when they get a sticker on their car, or if you were to buy a new vehicle. Use of extra traffic patrols to continue. Summer, we have the deputy patrols as needed during when the kids are out of school. And we do have an expense increase for the new gate access system. We pay for the software on a monthly basis, so we put that into the budget. You can see the expenses going up $12,000 as a result of that. And you can see on top, the revenues going up from $125 forecast this year up to $174, and that is for the stickers going up. And so we're able to find some revenue there to support our much-needed staff increases. Food and beverage and member services and the marina. First of all, food and beverage, we expect to end the year with $1.4 million. That's the highest revenue in the history of the association. And we're going to push it a little bit and going up 2.2%, another $31,000, and take it all the way up to $1.455 million in food and beverage. Labor going up 2.3%. Expenses 2.2, and just a small negative number. I bet we can probably make that up if we hit that negative, if we hit that revenue number and make up that $61. And then, of course, cost increases for consumables as your revenues goes up, so do your expenses. So we have a 2.2 increase in our expenses. The inn, we moved the reception labor to PPCC, so you can see that the labor in the inn will be down. We are adding an additional housekeeper to work throughout the park systems, mainly taking care of the bathrooms. And the other is cost increases for paper goods and other consumables. So that is a positive number because we moved the labor out of the inn. Member services, Member services pays for the shredding day, all the coffee and water that you see at all the meetings, the volunteer luncheon, and all the election expenses. $35,000 for the year. The marina, I don't know how many of you know, but when we built Dock C, we actually borrowed the money from ourselves to pay for the dock, and that internal loan will be paid off in April. After that, we'll be able to realize the revenue in the marina department, $135 per slip, and so that's why you see the revenue is going up $24,000, up to $165,000. Labor going up $6,500. And that is a positive number, so we expect because of that to actually make a little money in the marina next year. And that's good to see, and that is if the lake stays full, which we anticipate it will. Roads, grounds, and facilities maintenance. Expecting 53 new housing starts. We are adding an additional grounds staff member. And we moved wildlife management from G&A to this department. So you can see the revenues are pretty consistent, but the expenses are going up. That's for the new grounds person. And also the wildlife management increased the budget for roads and grounds, $104,000 between those two items. Facilities maintenance, so we are going to add one individual, so you can see the $43,000 variance is the individual, and the fact that we were so short-staffed this year, that's why the number is $43,000, because we were short-staffed pretty much the whole year. Other expenses, $122, and facilities maintenance spend for next year, $238,000. Let me go back to the beginning and just show you the roll-up. And here we are with the roll-up. So for the total operating revenues, $6.9 million compared to 6.7 forecast this year because of the increases that I mentioned. Gross operating profit of $5.9 million. Labor, taxes, and benefits going up 5.8%, due obviously to the 3 new positions and a 2.5% merit increase. Operating departments going up 5.7%. We do have some expenses with a new gate access system and also with a time management system that we're going to bring on board later on this year. So we're expecting we were able to get it to break even, a small break even of $2,947, but that is with the addition of 3 new staff members. Mr. Treasurer, I'd entertain a motion for approval of the operational budget at this time.
I would like to move that we approve the operational budget.
We have a motion to approve the operational budget for 2018. Do we have a second? Second. One motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. President, I'm going to oppose the operating budget because of the labor cost in this thing. We're at 53%, 53 to 54% of labor cost to total revenues. And our labor costs are now almost exceeding our total assessment revenues. And there are some components in the labor G&A account and other compensation that I think are probably inappropriate in this particular budget, so I'm going to be opposing it for that purpose. Thanks.
Any other comments? We have a motion and a second. There no further discussion. All those in favor of approving the 2018 operating budget, raise your hand. Right hand. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Dr. Chaney. Let's go right into the total capital budget for next year. Capital Reserve Fund obviously comes out of that fund. We'll just go down the list. You'll see a couple of these things come up later on as we need to move quite quickly on them. Clubhouse and Marina, China Glass and Silver. The Magnolia and Bluebonnet renovation. What we'd like to do there is take the wall out and put a dividing wall in between those 2 rooms. It'll give us a lot more flexibility for larger groups. We think that'll be a very beneficial project, and we could fit probably up to 30 people for a nice dinner in there once we do that. Renovation of the second level restrooms, so all the restrooms on this level of the clubhouse will be renovated. We do all of our own laundry. I don't know if you know that or not, but all the linens, tablecloths, napkins, we have a little laundry downstairs. We have 2 dryers. It's time to replace one of them. And we need some tables for our food and beverage operation, both 6-foot and 8-foot, $4,500. Total spend for clubhouse and marina, $116,500. Our copy upstairs has over 1 million copies. As ran through that copier, we're having difficulty finding parts for it, and it's on its last legs. We do everything on that copier, statements, booklets, board books, everything, and so it's just time to replace that copier. It gets a ton of use. On the golf department, truck replacement, $27,000. Buffalo blowers, those are a blowing, like it's a big fan that blows grass off the greens and off the fairways after you mow. Generally doing if the grass is growing very quickly, and obviously you don't want grass on the greens, so that's a fast way to get it off. The dual wheel grinder, we have a rather ancient piece of equipment down in the golf maintenance shop, and the wheel grinder is what sharpens all of our equipment, all the blades and all of our golf maintenance equipment. $45,000 for that. And the bed knife grinder, the bed knives fit on the greens mowers, and that's a specialized piece of equipment. The bed knives are very thin, and you need a specialized piece of equipment to get them sharp to mow as low as we mow on our greens. $15,000 for that. Bunker liners, our liners and our traps have reached the end of their useful life, 5 years, so we're going to replace those for $65,000. And a cart path edger for $3,700. Total spend for golf, $173,700. Moving on to roads, grounds, and maintenance. We do a tremendous amount of chipping, as you may know. Mr. Van Patten is spec'd out a chipper, $100,000. A skid steer, excavator, $50,000. Air compressor, $2,800. Plainview Park renovation, $140,000. And West Circle improvements of $10,000 for a total spend of $302,800 for roads, grounds, and maintenance. Security and ACC, we want to do some work on our guard buildings. They've been pretty much untouched since they've been built, but they need a little sprucing up. So that's what the $14,000 is for. In sports and recreation, we're going to do a couple things down at the stables, to add some lighting to the arena. We have security cameras in just about every spot in the association. There's one spot that we need to add down at security, so we want to add some security cameras and a gate down there, $7,500. That is a new capital. Club pool replaster, $75,000. We'll be starting that project fairly quickly, obviously, so we can get it open for the pool season. Also need some picnic tables down at the pool. Pad gym lighting, the lights that we have right now are metal halide. They were actually used when they were put in by the developer, and we're going with a LED, both a fixture and light, and we have a really good Encore cost-saving program that we're using, so we'll be getting more efficient LED lights. It'll a lot less heat, save electricity at the same time. We pack pool tables and chairs, just time to replace those. They get a lot of use down there. Pat pool robotic cleaner, we have one for this pool, but we do not have one for the Pat pool, so we need one down there. Also time to replace some game room equipment down at the Pat. Pat playground, we decided to go with a gravel base at the Pat playground. So we'll be digging down at least 12 inches, putting a membrane down, and then adding new gravel to that Pat playground. In addition to that, we'll be moving 2 pieces of equipment from this playground over by the pool to the Pat playground. And the slide has been recently replaced under warranty. Pool chemical controllers, we previously used a liquid chlorine bleach to sanitize the pools. We're going to a stabilized 3-inch tab. It's much more efficient and it's much safer also, $10,500. Total spend for sports and recreation, $153,200. So total 2018 capital budget is $784,200. And Mr. Treasurer, I entertain a motion at this time to approve the capital budget for 2018.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve the capital budget for this year.
Thank you. Do you want a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the capital budget?
Yes, I have a comment here. I'd like to commend Doug Green and Bob Zinski and the Finance Committee for the hard work that they put in bringing this capital budget together. They did an outstanding job.
Thank you, and I know we spent a lot of time talking about all those items as well at the board level. Any other comments? Then we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Thank you. The capital budget for 2018 is passed.
Okay, this is a graph, and we've been, as Mr. Cote said, the Finance Committee, along with staff, has been working very hard on trying to balance out the capital fund. And so we were able to move some things around, and so now we have, there's a bylaw that says that this fund cannot go below $500,000. And so we were able to...
Actually, the bylaw says it can't go without board approval.
Without board approval, correct. And so what we did is we moved the irrigation project over 2 years, up to 2019 and 2020. And you can see at the end of 2018, the balance there will go down a little bit in 2020, and then you can see, based on the planning that we have, what's in our capital asset reserve study, these will be the year-end balances at the end of the year, based on current trends.
So the irrigation project will begin in 2019 and be completed in 2020?
Correct.
Okay.
And finally, the road and drainage capital fund budget, drainage of $345,000, repair of damaged areas, $330,000, and microsurfacing of $172,000. Total road and drainage budget of $847,774. And Mr. Treasurer, I'll be looking for a motion to approve the road and drainage budget.
Mr. President, I propose that we, I move that we approve the capital budget for road and drainage.
Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of approving the road and drainage fund capital budget, raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion passes.
And that concludes my report. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Mr. President, back to you.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Board, and thanks to all the committees that are involved in moving this budget process forward. This is the most important thing that we do here, is to make sure that we maintain a healthy financial condition of our community, and I think that you can see that we're doing the best we can do that. Okay. Any other business? I don't think we have any other to move forward. So let's move to new business. The first item on the agenda is the appointment of the nominating committee for the 2018 election. This is in your books, and we need a motion to approve the members of the nominating committee and the chairman. This is not collusion, Vince, but...
Mr. President, I move that we approve the nominating committee that will be composed of myself as chair, and Lorraine McKay, Lou Turner, Kathleen Robinson, Carolyn Tetz, Steve Hansen, and Carter Gresham.
Do we have a second?
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'd like to make note that this is very important committee, and it identifies individuals in the community who will step forward and put themselves up for election to the board, and we will appreciate that. Yes, Doug?
Yeah, I do want to make one comment. We call it a nominating committee. I think we're in the process of changing the bylaws. We don't actually nominate people. We solicit people that will run for the board. And so this is the people that step forward and run are people that we have talked into doing it, to serving the community, and not necessarily are we endorsing those candidates or nominating them to be a board member.
So I would mention also that, every time and I'm sure all the other members have the same experience, that when I tell people that I'm a member of the board of directors of the Homeowners Association, the community in which I live, I always get comments about, oh my gosh, how could you stand it? And what a terrible thing you have to do. And it's not true. It really has been a rewarding experience. And I think everybody on this board would agree that I think we all are conscientious in working hard because it's a community that we live in. And so it's a good thing to do. It's been a positive experience, and I wish the nominating committee, if approved, all good speed and good luck in finding those folks to run. So all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion passes. 6B is, now we'll begin some ACEs, and so 6B are the packed gym lights, the conversion to the LED, and so do we have a motion? This would be 6B in the books.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this ACE.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Yes, sir. We're replacing the old halogen lights, 400 watts. They're old, but they don't do a really good job. They use a lot of energy. Our staff has worked a really great issue with this. We're replacing with LEDs. They will save about 45% of the cost in the first year, so we're looking at just a little over 2 years to get a return of our investment putting these LEDs in. They somehow managed to get Encore to actually contribute some to the cost of the LEDs and the insulation, so this is just a win-win. It'll cut our electric bill. It'll actually save us money.
And as Michael mentioned, they don't put out as much heat, so probably the sun and the air conditioning as well. Any other comments? If not, those in favor, raise your right. Any opposed? Motion passes. So the next one is item 6C, the robotic pool cleaner. Do we have a motion?
Mr. President, I move that we I make a motion that we vote on ACE 18-10-02 for the robotic pool cleaner. And this is a second robotic pool cleaner for the year.
So we have a motion and a second. We don't have a second. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Any comments? Nick, do you want to pick up on that now?
Sure. This is our second robotic pool cleaner. We have one that they've been using primarily here. I don't know if they move it back and forth, but they'd like a second one to run the pack pool.
Okay, any further questions, comments? If not, those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 6D is the fiber tech refinish of the clubhouse pool.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion we approve this. AC.
Do you have a second?
I'll tell you what it is.
Well, need a second. We have a motion and a second. Any comments?
Yes. As many of you know, our pool is nearly 45 years old, and it seems like we're always having to do some of the maintenance on it. Obviously, the choice would be to replace it, but that would be in excess of, $1 million, and we just, financially, it's just not feasible. So we've come up with a couple of different avenues that we thought we'd work on. It's a fiberglass shell, and you have a laminate-type fiber that covers it so you don't get into the actual pieces of the fiberglass. And through the years, some of the fiberglass is actually coming through the pool. So we went out, we thought, well, let's get a bid on getting it plastered. And so we went to some people that did that. But when they came back and investigated it, because we do have a fiberglass shell underneath, and we realized there's possibly some cracks in that shell where we're getting some leakage, they basically said, well, we couldn't do that. We would have to go in and completely take out all that laminate that's on that fiberglass to see where those cracks were before they'd even consider it. And so that became cost prohibitive. So they even recommended we go back to a fiberglass, FiberTech, and look at it that way. What they're going to do, they're going to come in, they're going to drain it. They'll go in where we have some of the lamination in there is coming out off the pool. They're going to have to go in and take those up, relaminate it over those, because we're assuming that's probably where some of the cracks are. They'll go back in and laminate those areas, then they will go back and coat it to, I think, a 1/16 inch to cover the fiberglass shell itself. After that dries, they'll come in and put another spray on there to harden it. The bid came in, I think it's $67,550 from FiberTech. But we're asking for $75,000, and the reason why is because they would only guarantee us, they would only include when they go in to do the void repair, and that void repair is where that laminate's coming out of the pool, off the pool, where they have to take that out and re-put the laminate on there. They would do 350 square feet of void repair. Well, if they get in there after draining it and discover there's more than that, then there's going to be extra expense. So that's why we put this up to $75,000, not to exceed. The actual bid was $67,890, so we're hoping that's what it'll come in at. But just to be on the safe side, that's why we approved not to exceed. There's no contingency on this, the $75,000.
Is there any danger, Roger, that the board construction might cause more problems than we anticipate?
From what I talked to Keith, I don't see any. But and here again.
But if it did, it might mean that we would have to eliminate the diving board.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of country clubs have had to eliminate that because of insurance. And I'm not saying our pool is, was it 15 feet? 12 feet. So it was designed specifically for diving boards, and so that's part of the reason why the insurance companies haven't come back and required us to take them out.
Well, and something that we're always concerned about is having a diving board at our community pool, and gee, it might be interesting if they discovered that it would be very costly to repair that. Is that a danger? Just asking.
I'm sure if we designed a new pool, it wouldn't be 15 feet if we were to build a new one.
Mr. President, is there a cost factor in insurance by having a diving board and not having a diving board? Would that affect the price that we pay in insurance?
No. I asked specifically that, and our insurance carrier said no.
Good. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, good question. Any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, item E is the pool chemical distribution system. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the purchase of the pool chemical distribution system.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Do we have any comments?
As Michael pointed out, we have previously been using a liquid bleach system, which has not been quite as safe, and somewhat more costly, and so we want to replace that system with a system that uses chlorine tablets, and the cost of the system is $10,332.46.
And in our discussion, this company was going to give us a trial period as well, is that right, Keith?
Yes, we did a test last year, and the deal with the company was if they used the product last year, then they would let us use it for the complete year. We did sell cost savings, and so when we pulled the trigger and said, let's go ahead and put this in, and this is actually for all three pools, the baby pool included. So the baby pool, the pack pool, and the main clubhouse pool.
So, better system for us, okay. Any other comments or discussion?
Yeah, I know the system's installed in the pack pool. Is it currently installed in this pool already? So really, the system's already in, and we're just paying for it. We decided we liked the product a lot, and so it's good.
Okay, all right. Okay, motion is second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item F is replacement of china, glassware, and silverware.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve this ACE 1810.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Do we have any comments?
Yes, I do, Mr. President. This authorization for capital expenditure was presented to us as a capital expenditure, but it went for review at the Finance Committee. And the Finance Committee recommended that this be funded through, as an operational expenditure, and be funded through our general fund. And I think we all agree with that. So we commend the Finance Committee for looking at this thing in earnest and making that recommendation. Secondly, this expenditure is justified because the last time we bought china in silverware was about 3 years ago, maybe a little more, and the standards in the business, depending on how big the companies are or the restaurants are, breakage and, thievery and things like that sometimes exceeds $1,000 a month. I'm told that in 3 years here, we're averaging about $5,000 a year. By the way, this goes into an inventory. It gets inventoried every year. And I think we're writing off about $5,000 a year. Is that right? Janice, is that about the number? Okay. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make here is that $15,000 for China is a reasonable expenditure in this environment. So that's all I have to say about it.
And so, no, it will come out of operating expenses.
Exactly, it'll come out of the general fund, and Janice will book it in an inventory and conduct an inventory once a year. Now, some restaurants conduct inventories monthly, some do it quarterly, but we do it yearly, and I think that's acceptable.
So we have a motion, a second. Any other comments or discussion? If not, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion passes. The next four items in new business are changes to the bylaws, and so I'm glad it's not me that's explaining these, but we'll take them one at a time. For item 6G, do we have a motion?
Actually, Mr. President, it might be better if I move that we approve 6G and 6H because they work in conjunction with each other.
So we have a motion to approve items 6G and 6H that are related and refer to the bylaws for the membership committee. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Discussion.
Yeah, I think before we approve 6G and 6H, we need to put the correct CR number for each one, otherwise, we don't, for the record, we aren't really voting on the appropriate items. I understand what we're talking about, but we need to read the CRs and document change requests into the record.
6G is CR-17-10-001, and 6H is BL-17-10-001.
That's correct? That's what we have. Ross, those are correct. Okay. Vince, you want to describe what we're doing here?
Basically, what we're doing is bringing the bylaws and the committee resolution regarding the membership committee into compliance with state law. Our bylaws that currently read says the Board of Directors shall appoint a membership committee composed of at least 3 members of the association, which committee shall review and approve or disapprove all applications for membership in the association. That's a violation of state law as contained in Chapter 209 of the Texas Property Code. So BL 17-10-001 deletes in its entirety, I'm sorry, it deletes Article 9, Section 2 of the bylaws titled Membership Committee. And then under committee resolution, we have deleted any reference to Article 9, Section 2 in the committee resolution, and Section 14 of the committee resolutions deals with Membership Orientation Committee. And from this point forward, it will be called the Membership Orientation Committee, and the new committee resolution sets out the duties of the Membership Orientation Committee that are now in compliance with state law.
It's a simple change, but in fact an important one, because this community does not approve or disapprove members. Anyone is eligible to move into pecan plantation, and so that's an important change for us to make. Any other comments or discussion?
Yeah, just so everybody is clear on this, what we're doing today is approving to put the bylaw change on the ballot. In order to change our ballot, it has to be, the membership has to vote on it and approve the bylaw change. So we're not actually changing this in our so we're just voting to put it on the ballot.
And that will apply to the next 2 items as well. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, any other discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion to approve items G and H, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion passed. Thank you. And now, so shall we do items I and J as well together? Do we have a motion?
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve these changes, PL 17-10-002 and BL 17-10-002.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Any comments?
Yes, Mr. President, what we're doing here with this change request is that first of all, let me explain. This is about the Audit Committee of the Board of Directors. All right? In the business world, it's known as the BAC, B-A-C, Board Audit Committee. The purpose of the Board Audit Committee, according to the good business practices and the principles of management, is that the Audit Committee of the Board of Directors should be independent of management. And the policy that we currently have does not do that. The new proposed Audit Committee policy will become a part of the bylaws. So the way it's set up now is the policy can be changed by the Board of Directors, at its discretion, whereby now it will be part of the bylaws, and we'll take a vote of the membership to change that. And the purpose of this whole thing is to enhance our system of internal controls, of checks and balances. What the audit committee at the board of directors is supposed to do is to inquire into the effectiveness of internal controls in general adherence to the Plantation Owners Association policies, to recommend to the board when internal audits are needed, based on ad hoc when they're needed, is to review the activities of the outside auditors that come in, to make sure that they have the independence to do the audits that we commission them to do. And the board of directors, the audit committee, as the board of directors, is sort of appoint people to make sure that happens. And it's also to recommend to the board of directors the appointment of the independent public accountants every year. So it's basically a checks and balance thing. It's going to go as a bylaws now, so first of all, the members are going to have to vote for this, to vote it in, and any changes that are going to be made to this thing will require a vote of the members. So basically, that's what this is all about.
So the audit committees will report to the board and not to management?
Correct.
A question, Mr. President, and I was at the meeting last week when this was discussed. Are we revising the language in the current bylaws that deals with the audit committee?
Yes, it's been revised, and the reason it's been revised is the current way that it is written, it's more written for a audit department, for instance, conducting audits, in reporting to management the findings so corrections can be made. That's not what the board audit committee is all about. So the language has been changed. The language is available for all of you to review if you like. And it's been reviewed by our bylaws committee, and it's been reviewed extensively by the board here. And we recommend that it be approved.
And these changes, it's a good time to mention this, these changes then are on the new website, is that correct?
I would assume so, but I don't know that it was put on there. Maybe the general manager can explain that.
Yeah, those on the
I don't know, I'll have to check. When we swapped over to the new website, everything that I posted in the last couple of months had not actually gone on the website.
Yeah, plus this thing has to be approved, I would imagine, before we post it, I would think,
Well, it has to be voted on, but I think it should be on the website so that the members can see what they're voting on. Don't you agree?
I agree. And I'd like to add one more thing. This is not only an independence from management, but it's also has a checks and balance within the board of directors itself. We have 5 officers on the board of directors who are authorized to sign and execute contracts and checks and things like that. And the board of directors, the audit committee is comprised of the non-officers of the board of directors. So therefore, we also establish a checks and balance on the board of directors itself. So it's an internal control enhancement, if you will, of our overall system of internal controls.
Any other comments? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion passes. And before we move on to the next item, I just want to make a comment. Bob Coulter, over the last 2 years, you have dragged us kicking and screaming into a better system of internal controls, and we really appreciate the hard work you've done on that.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 7, management.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, if you haven't came up to the dining room lately, we do have a new menu, so thank you to Chef Thomas and John Thomas and their staff. We have a lot of new items, a lot of new favorites. Grilled Mandarin salmon at night is extremely popular. You might want to try that. For lunch, some of the favorites are Cajun turkey melt sandwich, Baja tacos, and the Clubhouse poor boys. So lots of new stuff to try, so come up and try us for either breakfast, lunch, or dinner. All the menus are new. The EAA fly-in is this Saturday, the 4th, starting at 9 a.m. Also, the opportunity for kids to take plane rides again this year, so come early if you'd like to get your kid or your child or your grandkid signed up for that. And also, it's going to be combined this year, and the theme is Wings and Wheels, so there'll be also a unique and antique car show on display at the same time. So the Entertainment Committee and the Airport Committee decided to combine those two activities into one. One of our greatest traditions takes place, Veterans Day celebration on Wednesday, November 8th. The event is to honor those that served our country. The morning begins with a flag-raising ceremony by the Granbury Junior ROTC high schoolers. They do a great job. Then we have a missing man flyover formation flight by a couple of our individuals that are sitting at this very table, Mr. Kite and Mr. Green. And then back inside, the proceedings will continue with the judge and the jury honoring all the different aspects of the service, the Army, the Navy. They go through all the fight songs for each one of those. And then the speaker this year is, and let me get his name right, Air Force Major General Elton W. L. Joaz. And so make your reservations early. It's a very moving ceremony and a very great event for Pecan Plantation. Our new website, as Mary mentioned earlier, is launched. It is a work in progress. It is a tremendous amount of data to migrate over, but take a look at it. We are migrating data on a daily basis to get it up to speed. It features new interactive aspects. It's compatible with handheld devices. And special thanks to our Communications Committee and Chair Brian Rogers is here, David Jeffries, and Mary Smith for their contributions to this project. Our new gate access system is in the works. We're still working on the contract with the company, but the new gate access system was approved at the last board meeting. The new system will allow you to manage your own account much more effectively. You can do that either via computer, you can put in your guests, and you can put in permanent guests also on your computer, or if you'd rather not do it, or on your handheld device also. And then that information will go directly to the gates, so you won't have to talk to anybody. Or if you'd like, after hours is going to be a recording, and so we'll go on a recording, and that recording will go directly to the gates. When your guest pulls up, the recording, the gate staff will simply hit that recording and then allow your guests to go in. This should make the system of allowing your guests in much quicker and also much more effectively, and it will also help secure the community, as we'll have voice or actually recognition software for license plates. And then coming up, another great tradition, our annual Thanksgiving feast on November 23rd. Come up and enjoy all the favorites, traditional favorites from Chef Thomas and his crew. And if you'd rather leave the cooking to us, we're also offering whole hams and turkeys that you can take home. And some holiday events coming up. The holiday writing contest, look through columns in November if you'd like to get involved in that. The member Christmas social, make plans for that. That's always a great event. And the Women's Christmas Tour of Homes is an event you don't want to miss. You can tour 5 decorated homes. There's 2 options, one for brunch and one for dinner. And we expect to have about 600 people coming through for that Christmas Tour of Homes. So lots to do over the next couple months, and happy holidays to you and your family. And Dr. Kamen, that concludes my report.
Thank you. I can take issue with one of your comments. You mentioned that the plan would have a show of antique cars. Since all of us at this table are older than the designation usually assigned to those cars, we are now the owners of classic cars. So if you would please change the language, we are not antiques, we are classics.
So noted.
And there are no presentations and appeals, and I have no request for an executive session. If there are no further business before the board, then I'd like a motion for adjournment. Second? Second. All those in favor?